ride-hailing company called as partners. And as partners, I believe that if we are partners, then we should be involved in decision making, or maybe some other decisions that are being made by the ride-hailing, or if they have accepted something, the drivers must be aware because they call us partners.
If you saw this on social media, then there's a possibility that it's a fluke and it may actually not materialize. Why do you believe that it will happen in January?
It's all over the news. It's all over the news. It's all over. And then, this booking fee also, we saw it on the social media, and now it's affecting us. The VAT came, and then, no, we have to go to DVLA to ask them, why this? And they said they directed us to GRA so that we'll go and find out. And when we went there, they said, yes, they, through the ride-hailing company, they said they should take it. You understand? So if we have seen this circulating on the social media, we are saying that this that have been said will be imposed, and it has been imposed.
Have you been told how this is going to be in practice? So you're going to lose what percentage of your revenue?
No.
I'm asking if you have been told how this is going to be implemented. Do you have to pay a certain percentage to the GRA? Is it going to be monthly, quarterly, annually?
Yes. So we have not been told anything, but when we saw this, we said we'll go to GRA come Wednesday to go and find out what is going on. We've seen this. As the Secretariat for Online Drivers, we speak for the online drivers. So we want to go there to find out that what is going on. We've seen this, and then we don't know anything about it. So we've asked one of our colleagues to go to Uber, Boat, and then Yango about the same thing that you're asking him now, so that we'll find out. And then we'll go to GRA on Wednesday, so then we'll see the outcome.
Very well. Thank you so much for speaking to us, sir.
You're welcome.
That's Alex Okine. He's General Secretary of the National Secretariat for Online Drivers. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. We are coming to you from our studios in Adabraka in Accra, broadcasting around the globe on citinewsroom.com. If you use any of those, Uber, Yango, Bolt, let me know what you make of these taxis. Also, if you're a driver of any of them, let me know how this actually is going to affect your business. Let me send us a message using 0549 986 996 0549 986 996. Alternatively, go on Twitter and use the hashtag Citi Newsroom. Edna has some other stories.
60% of sampled youth for the drafting of the Ghana Youth Manifesto for election 2024 and beyond wants the next government to prioritize issues of youth employment. This represents a departure from the 2020 Youth Manifesto, which had youth employment as second priority for the youth with 24.3%. Stakeholders have thus urged political parties to use the survey as a guide in drafting their manifesto for the 2024 general elections. Senior Programs Officer for the Foundation for Development and Security in Africa, Solomon Okine, has been providing insight into the report.
The priority areas identified was number 1, employment, and then 58% wanted government to focus on skills development and education. And the third priority was on governance, and 47% of respondents. Then we have 25% on health, and the other 3 areas also follows in that order. And so this one also looks at, we try to compare it to a 2020 Youth Manifesto and realize that there has been a change in terms of the priorities that young people were actually looking out for. In 2020, we had skills development topping the list, and then followed by employment and then governance. But this time around, we have employment topping the list, followed by skills development and governance.
Solomon Okine is the Senior Programs Officer of the Foundation for Development and Security in Africa. Chief Executive Officer of the National Youth Authority, Pius Enam Hajide, says government is working to address unemployment challenges.
We are clear in our minds that the public service cannot provide the solution to the problem of youth unemployment, and it has to be the private sector. Youth unemployment, resolving that challenge is not an event, it's going to be a process. I can list a number of interventions. For instance, when we assumed power, we had to deal with a massive backlog of unemployed youth. Remember the Unemployed Graduates Association? So NAPCO, as an intervention for 3 years, was brought in as a stopgap measure to deal with that problem. Again, we have talked about increased recruitments into public service, really and truly unprecedented. You check the numbers recruited into the Ghana Police, for instance, check the teachers, the Ghana Education Service, you check immigration services and so on. Really and truly unprecedented in terms of recruitments into the public service. But we are clear in our minds that the public service cannot provide the solution to the problem of youth unemployment, and it has to be the private sector, the engine of growth. So we have to, first of all, create the enabling environment for the private sector to thrive. And so several government interventions and programs, the resolution of the Dumso problem, for instance, if there is no power for industries to function, how can industries employ people? And so Dumso was a major factor that was militating against the capacity of companies and industries to employ. That has been resolved. Then the issue of credit has been dealt with, especially for the youth, in one of the most comprehensive ways. NEIP, the GEA, the Youth Start, loanable amounts are now made available for young persons to develop their entrepreneurial and their can-do spirits and attitudes. And so, without doubt, the government is taking that bold and decisive steps towards the resolution of the problem of youth unemployment. The focus on technical and vocational education in the long term is to make the young people themselves able to create our commonwealth, to create jobs for themselves and to employ their colleagues and their peers. And so we are moving in the right direction.
Ayos Enam Hajide is the Chief Executive Officer of the National Youth Authority. Meanwhile, General Manager of Citi FM and Citi TV, Bernard Avle, has rallied the youth to actively participate in issues bordering on governance.
The Youth Manifesto is the beginning of many things. People sense that young people's time has come and everybody wants to usurp that. So first thing I want to say to youth is that don't be a tool for somebody's agenda. You define your own agenda because the future is for you. I'm 42 years old. I will not be here in 100 years. A lot of you will still be here, hopefully, even in 50 years. So don't let the political parties define what the election is about. You define it. This is what you've just done. You decide what we will vote for. So that's point number one. You set the agenda. Don't work for somebody's agenda. Number two, get involved. All right. I voted a couple of days ago, local assembly elections. You have to organize around what you believe in. So don't just complain. Get into the assembly and get involved. Organize people around things that matter.
Bernard Avle is the General Manager of Citi FM and Citi TV.
This Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM, broadcasting from Adabraka in Accra, is some 48 hours to the day or the time that Parliament rises. And as usually is characteristic with the final hours of Parliament, drama and sometimes chaos. Tonight, we're not hearing of chaos, but drama over the 2024 budget. It still has some challenges, and we are hearing that there was a vote and issues got to a head. There may be a head count happening soon. We'll come back and tell you more on that. Stay with us.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
You know your papa see that? And it's rickety car. Hey, papa! Bobo, so how your engine now? It is half man, half amazing. Thanks to Cause and you can feel better energy. Can't touch this. Actually, guys, so Sancho's engine just died like that? Yes, so somebody managed to convince him that there is a better engine oil than Quartz. And he switched. Sancho Panza. Now, which engine oil can be better than Quartz? No other, my guy. Quartz with its age-resistant technology, it keeps your engine younger for longer. Now you know. Have you guys seen the new bottle design? It's superb. Quartz 9000 from Total Energies there improves fuel efficiency. Why do you think Mr. Mane and Logoso have taken the Quartz Nation movement World Cup like that? Sorry. Quartz. Keep your engine younger for longer.
Hey, Ma, the way you're always getting alerts these days, I won't be surprised to hear that you have gotten a Momo for Business account by my next visitor.
Oh, I'm already on Momo for Business.
Since when?
Since. Now, it's easy to apply for a merchant SIM. All you need is a registered MTN number, your business certificate, your Ghana card, and you are good to go.
Sir.
You think you are the only one who knows what's up, eh? Look, I just dialed *5051#, selected register, and the region I was requesting the SIM from, and waited for my SMS with my reference number. You can even go online at momomerchantapplication.mtn.com.gh and complete the details for an even better experience.
Hey, Grandma Momo.
Sign up for Momo for Business the easy and simple way. Just visit momomerchantapplication.mtn.com.gh or dial *5051# and follow the prompts and be on your way to owning a Momo business account today for free. MTN.
Let your voice be heard on Eyewitness News on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag Eyewitness News.
You're welcome back. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. Let's go to the House of Parliament now, shall we?
The minority in Parliament has criticised the budgetary allocation to the Office of the President and the Chief of Staff Secretariat for the year 2024. The group says the Office of the President has been allocated over 1 billion Ghana cedis, representing a 100% increase, while the Chief of Staff's office was allocated 277 million Ghana cedis for goods and services. The minority leader, Dr. Kesela Tuforsen, says government must provide justifications for the exponential increase in the budget for the Office of Government Machinery for the upcoming year.
It will interest you to note that even though the year 2023, the expenditure returns that were submitted to the Finance Committee were for the period between January to September 2023. It surprises me to see that almost all the cost lines for the Office of the President in particular, they have exceeded it. Almost all. Mr. Speaker, what surprises me was the quantum of amount that has been spent at the Office of the Chief of Staff Secretariat in particular. Mr. Speaker, year to September, 144.8 million Ghana cedis as against releases of 131.4 million. Mr. Speaker, clearly there's something very wrong with the document that was submitted to the Finance Committee. Again, Mr. Speaker, the Cabinet Secretariat, their budget for the entire year was 4.3 million. But from January to September, the Cabinet Secretariat has exceeded their budget, and the amount they spent for the first 9 months was 7.6 million. So clearly you can see that there is over expenditure at the Office of the President in particular, while the other agencies under the office, under the government machinery were struggling to get releases. But what surprises me most is the budget allocation for the year 2024. While the Office of the President in particular were allocated something about 1.4 billion this year for 2022, they have allocated 1.1 2 billion for the entire office of government machinery. Mr. Speaker, the office of the president in particular, their budget is being increased by over 100%, from 2023 to 2024. So my question is, what exactly are they going to do in the year 2024? Is it the elections? Is it the reason why they budgeted so much, Mr. Speaker? The key question I have here, Mr. Speaker, is that the office of the president alone, their goods and services budget is 450 million Ghana cedis. Goods and services alone. And this is according to the budget statement, page 191. Goods and services alone, 450 million Ghana cedis. The budget they have allocated for the office of the president alone is 1,093 million Ghana cedis. 1 billion. For the year 2024. This week I felt that I think all of us agree that the country is in a major crisis. And if the country is in a crisis, then there's the need for us to be careful how we spend money. This week, the office of the government machinery's budget has moved from 1.4 billion to 2 billion and 74 million. But the office of the president budget has been increased over 100%. And the details is shocking. In fact, capital expenditure alone at the office of the president in particular is 67 million Ghana cedis. 67 million Ghana cedis. What at all are they purchasing? Capital expenditure. How many cars are they buying? To the extent that they will have to budget 67 million Ghana cedis for capital expenditure. Mr. Speaker, largely this amount is for the purchases of cars. My concern is it because election is staring at us? And is that the reason why? And that is the question I'm asking. Is it because election is staring at us? And that is why the Office of Government Machinery budget has moved from 1.4 billion to 2 billion? Or is it because of the elections? That is why the office of the president in particular, the budget for the office of the president has been increased from about 400 million to 1 billion Ghana cedis. 400 million to about 1 billion Ghana cedis, of which goods and services alone amounting to 450.6 million Ghana cedis, goods and services alone. What at all are they using this money for? Goods and services. Speaker, this is according to the budget statement before us. The Speaker, these are things that I believe that this House must call and demand answers from the office of the president. The Speaker, Chief of Staff's office is where most of this expenditure is concentrated, particularly the special operations account. And the details as was presented by the office of the president in the documents that were submitted to the finance committee, the Speaker, is something that we should all be worried about. The Chief of Staff's goods and services is 277.2 million Ghana cedis. That's for Chief of Staff alone. 277.2 million Ghana cedis. So, Speaker, I think this amount is a bit too much, and it's more than 100% of what was allocated for in the year 2023. So, Speaker, in as much as we will support that this budget must be approved, it calls for some concern, and there's the need for us to get some answers. I recognize that the Chief of Staff is not here to answer this question, but the mover of the motion must give us some clarity as to why we have seen an exponential increase in the allocations that the government has made to the office of the Chief of Staff and the office of the President.
Minority Leader Dr. Kisel Atuforsen. Now, the minority also says the establishment of development authorities by the government is a waste of resources, hence the need for them to be outlawed. The caucus says the authorities, such as the Coastal Development Authority, have failed to live up to their mandates. Debating on the budget estimates for the Office of Government Machinery, the Minority Chief Whip, Gavin Abuja, says the establishment of the authorities was a pretext to amass more resources to the presidency for wrongful spending.
A number of the organizations under the office of the president was created simply to put resources under the presidency. Mr. Speaker, what actually is the use of the development authorities? Complete waste. It's just a quango for nothing. Mr. Speaker, FODA started a project, a 6-unit project, a classroom project in my constituency. It's been abandoned for ages. Get Fund could have done that. What is the point of asking Northern Coastal Development Authority to go and build a classroom? Has Get Fund failed to do so? Get Fund is unable to do these things because they don't have the money. Then you go and create another Kwango. And then call it, and staff it with all manner of people, and then say that you can go and award a 6-unit classroom block. Mr. Speaker, then you go and put the money under the presidency. Mr. Speaker, I think this House should be thinking of actually considering some of the things we do in this House. In fact, sometimes you cannot blame government for, because we passed it. And I remember the majority leader told us how the setting up of the development authorities was going to be a game changer, was going to make things better. Today, even one 6-unit classroom block at Adaku have been abandoned. So where are the promises you gave us? Mr. Speaker, we should have been trying to actually rescind some of the decisions. The development authorities can be collapsed today. It will actually give better value for money for our country. Mr. Speaker, I'm saying that the project being done under the development authorities could be done under any other organization of government that already exists. If you say that you did it because you want to create job for people, I can understand. I mean, what is local government, Ministry of Education? Mr. Speaker, all these things, the drill boreholes, completely unnecessary. Mr. Speaker, we should disband that of the development authority and transfer the resources somewhere else. Mr. Speaker, today, as you see here, Mr. Speaker, your own assembly is deprived of resources. Are you saying that the engineers at the assembly, if the assembly common fund is given to them, the engineers and the education directorate at your assembly couldn't have gone to build a 6-unit classroom block, drill boreholes? Do you actually need a new government entity to drill boreholes? You don't. It is a waste of resources and only a pretext to go and put more resources under the presidency. And guess what? When they put the money under the presidency, we have good allocation, they hardly give the money to those organizations. They spend it anyhow they like. Mr. Speaker, my recommendation would be that at least the development authorities should be outlawed. It is completely unnecessary, a waste of resources, and actually relocate those activities to the rightful places. The development authorities' activities can perfectly be carried out by the Ministry of Local Government and then these assemblies without any show of, inefficiencies. In fact, Mr. Speaker, do you notice that the government did something right? We said we were not going to have deputy regional ministers. Today, we don't have deputy regional ministers. Has the regional coordinating councils shown any lack of capacity? No. The same way, we can collapse the development authorities and let the Ministry of Local Government and the District Assembly do the work, and we can get better value. As for this one, it's one of the things that I think the House erred by helping the majority to pass this development authority bill. It was the wrong thing, and we should find a way of actually rescinding our decision that we've now realized that it's a bad decision, and we should take back our decision and do the right thing. Mr. Speaker, with these few words, my approval actually is everything minus the development authority.
Minority Chief Whip Gavins Abuja.
So he says there that he would approve everything except the development authorities. But we also told that there was an issue on the tax side of the budget. Our correspondent in Parliament is Aikwe Okain. He's joined us on the line. Nia, you're welcome to Eyewitness News. Tell us about that drama that happened earlier in the chamber.
Well, so Sandra, today after the approval of the budget estimate for the Office of the Government Machinery, the House also considered the budget estimate for the Finance Ministry. That's about 2.2 billion Ghana cedis for the ensuing year. Now, During deliberations or debates on the report, the minority raised several concerns, especially with regard to plans by the Finance Ministry to establish a new head office with about 20 million Ghana cedis, and then also Ghana Revenue Authority to also establish a new head office, and then the Bank of Ghana head office, which is also under construction. They feel that these resources that are being channeled into infrastructure within the under the Finance Ministry by these agencies is inappropriate, and they could have been channeled into other sectors of the economy for an economic improvement, but that is not happening. And the minority also raised some concerns regarding the SML and then the Finance Ministry contract, which has been in the news for some time now. They have indicated that they are going to conduct a probe into this particular contract because they believe it does not inure to the benefit of Ghanaians. So these are some of the concerns that were raised by the minority. In fact, we didn't have many of the majority members of parliament contributing to the debate on this particular report by the Ministry of Finance. So after deliberations by some of the minority members, the second deputy speaker, Andrew Esiamamwa, who was chairing or presiding at the time, decided to put the voice votes. But then some of the minority members still wanted to make contributions to the report, and the second deputy speaker also wanted to go ahead and then also ensure that the budget is approved, and the minority side did not agree to this. So the minority side did not agree to this, and then when the voice vote was put, it appeared that if it was being declared, it would go in favor of the minority. So the second deputy speaker, Andrew Esiamamwa, had to suspend sittings, and then for some 30 minutes after the suspension of sitting, the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin himself, took over the seat and then put the voice vote again, which was declared in favor of the majority, hence having the budget of the Finance Ministry approved for the ensuing years under.
But there was something around the minority were not present when this happened?
So most of the majority members were not available at the time. But
minority, you mean?
Majority.
Okay.
So,
as of the time the earlier voice vote, the Esiama presided proceedings, exactly. The majority were not around.
Yeah, most of them were not available. So the voice vote could have gone in favor of the noes, which was from the minority side.
Okay, so was a voice vote taken or not?
So the voice vote was taken after the suspension. Speaker himself, Alban Bagbin, took over proceedings, and then also the voice vote was put, which was declared in favor of the majority. So the budget estimate for the Finance Ministry was approved.
As of the time the Speaker Bagbin was presiding and the voice vote being taken, were the NDC members in the House?
So some of the minority members were available, but at this time, the majority numbers outweigh that of the minority. So the noes were not that much compared to the ayes who were in favor.
Has the House adjourned, or there's more business to be done tonight?
As it stands, the House has adjourned because it's having its carols night this evening, so the House has adjourned to tomorrow, and we are expecting that the House would adjourn tomorrow for the Christmas festivities. Any
other businesses planned for tomorrow, big ones?
So we have some of the budget estimates that are yet to be approved, and we are expecting that tomorrow those budgets would be considered before the appropriation bill would be passed.
Very well. Thank you so much for speaking to us. That's Nia Ikwe-Okain. He's our correspondent in Parliament. The Member of Parliament for Tamale Central, former Deputy Minister, is Murtala Mohammed. He's joined us on the line. He's on the NDC side. You're welcome to Eyewitness News, sir.
Thank you, Sander. How are you doing, my brother?
I'm doing well. Last week you forced, and well, not last week, 2 weeks or so ago, you forced the whole nation into a vote where you were going to do head count. You lost that, knowing you didn't have the numbers. Today, you lost a voice vote again, and we are told you were not even in the chamber when that happened. Many of you. What's happening? If you knew that you didn't have the numbers, why did you even raise the issue of a vote against the budget for the finance ministry?
Maru, what happened today had nothing to do with we losing a vote or we not having the numbers. When the decision was to be made, you know, when decisions are to be made, it comes first with a voice vote. Now, when it comes with a voice vote, you can challenge the voice vote as a caucus or as a leadership, whether majority or minority, depending on the position of the caucus you belong. We had the voice vote in the matter of the budget of the Ministry of Finance. And we had problems with the budget because you cannot give over 2 billion cedis to the Ministry of Finance. And CAPEX of agencies and the ministry are more than even budget of certain ministries. If you take the Security and Exchanges Commission, they are spending $17 million to put up a new office. Ghana Revenue Authority is spending $79 million to put up a new office. Ministry of Finance itself is spending $20 million to put up a new office. If we add this to the needless $250 million being spent for the purposes of putting up a new office for the Bank of Ghana, we are talking about $366 million. The question is, what is so special about putting up new offices by this government? At a time when schools would have to be closed because the government cannot provide them with feeding. At a time when hospitals are in a deplorable and soaring state. At a time when we are being told that we should all tighten our belts. Yet this government sees nothing wrong with spending $366 million to put up offices. And this, among others, were the reasons why we took a position not to approve the budget of the ministry, in specific reference to the taxes. Now, a voice vote was taken, and it was very clear that we rejected the budget because the no's were heard louder than the yeas, and for which reason the second deputy speaker could not give a ruling. For me, that was embarrassing. The moment a voice vote is taken, the speaker should be able to determine whether the no's have it or the yeas have it. And remember, the voice vote was taken 2 times, and the speaker, second deputy speaker, didn't give his ruling. He just said he was suspending sitting. That, for me, was a travesty of best practices of Parliament, particularly this Parliament, and the standing orders of Parliament and the interests of the people of this country. Now, when he said he was suspending sitting for 1 hour, members of Parliament have offices. So when they suspend sittings, you all move to your offices. And more, ask anybody, including your correspondent. The bell, when you have a suspended sitting, when you are to reconvene, they will ring a bell. The bells ring louder in every member of Parliament offices. My office, when they ring, you cannot even sit in the office. The expectation is that the moment you are coming back, once the bell is rung, every member of Parliament who is in his office or her office would hear it and would have to come to the chamber. Now, if you suspend the sitting for 1 hour, then we'll all move to our offices. And I will tell you, I went in to observe my Asr prayer and then to find something to eat. So we were there, and it was, Muslims will pray our Asr prayer at 3:15. I remember this was around 4 something. So I moved to my office and I said, let me observe my prayer. Less than 30 minutes. I was there, and then a colleague, I came out, in fact, to go to the washroom. And then a colleague said, it seems they are in the chamber. I said, how? The speaker said, we were coming back in 1 hour time. But why is it that the bell was not rung? We were rushing to the chamber only for the votes to be taken. As I was rushing, I went through Facebook. Parliamentary sittings is taken, live on Facebook. By the time we got there, the voting was done. How? In any case, the voting had completed. It's only that the speaker or the second deputy speaker failed to rule on the voice voting. So even if he suspended sitting and then we reconvened, he needed to give his ruling. There wasn't any need for a third voting again to be done. So that is why I say that for me it's a travesty of the parliamentary procedure and what we are expected to do. And no one can tell me that it was deliberately done. It was not deliberately done. No one can tell me that. And by the time, in fact, a lot of MPs were rushing there. The bell was not rung, we were not informed, nobody told us anything. They just got up and then they took the voice vote, knowing very well that there were not many members of parliament in there. And for me, that is embarrassing. That is completely unacceptable.
The most experienced person in that house today is the Speaker, Alban Bagbin. Luckily, you say he was the one who was presiding. He knows how these things are done. He knows when a bell should be rung and when it should not be rung. If he was the one presiding, knowing that you are coming back from a break, he ought to have instructed or ought to have known that the bell was not rung. If he presided over proceedings regardless, then it means that the procedure that was adopted most likely would have been the appropriate procedure.
The Speaker was not aware. If you listen to what your reporter reported, you realize it took the majority chief, Honorable Anodon Pre, to inform the Speaker that a decision was supposed to be made. The Speaker was not even aware. So I get the sense that Honorable Bagbin was not even briefed by the second Deputy Speaker. Because you realize when the Parliament reconvened, the Speaker, in fact, and this thing I can tell you that I had to listen to this on Facebook, and also what is being played by the various media houses. He got up and told the Speaker that, a decision was supposed to be taken, we had voted, and then the Speaker suspended. So Honorable Bagbin was not aware. It is very clear. It is very clear. If he was aware, he didn't need Honorable Anodam Press to remind him where the stage at which you were before the suspended sitting had taken effect. He didn't know. So it means that he was not even briefed. And in any case, the ringing of the bell is not done by the Speaker. The ringing of the bell is done through the Clerks of Parliament. And they knew that there was a suspended sitting. It is not the Speaker who does the ringing. The question is that why is it that the bell was not rung? So Honorable Bagbin came to take charge of responsibility, and Honorable Anodam Press rose and said, Mr. Speaker, there was a decision that could not be taken and by the second Deputy Speaker. And he even asked him what? He said, item 12 of page, the particular page. And he reminded him that decision. I believe that if the Speaker Bagbin knew that a voting was already done and that it was just left with taking a decision, which strangely the second Deputy Speaker failed to take, he would have taken the decision. I am telling you, he wouldn't have allowed the second voting to be done.
What's the way forward? Are you going to ask for another opportunity to vote?
Well, I was expecting our leadership to challenge it, and they didn't. I was expecting them
to
challenge it, and they didn't. I stand to be corrected because I told you I was rushing to the chamber, so I don't know whether they indeed challenged it or not, but if they didn't, that would be most unfortunate.
Very well. That would be it. I'm told that you have actually adjourned for tomorrow, so I guess that would be it. You've lost that one. And what next is happening tomorrow? What are the positions you're taking before going to the chamber? Are you still opposed to all the taxes that are involved?
Well, first and foremost, in fact, initially, I had problem with even the steps we were going to take. But I remember we were in the coffee shop. I went there and then to take coffee even before the earlier voting. And Honorable Ahmed said that we all needed to be in the chamber because we'll be rejecting the taxes. And I told him, I said, but why is it that we were not informed this? Because usually one would expect that we would have been informed even days or yesterday. So that if any member of parliament has anything to do, that member of parliament would. Because I said some members of parliament were there in the morning. Perhaps they may be attending some programs elsewhere or committees. You remember that. In
fact, I'm told by some of your colleagues that a lot of them are in the constituencies because of the assembly elections.
In fact, I went for the assembly elections and then I came back. After voting, I came. Some cannot go that way. There are some who may not have flights to go. They will go by boat. In fact, I went to Tamale, my constituency is in Tamale Central. I went by air, voted, and returned again to Accra. In fact, I had a program yesterday, I remember. I was invited to attend a youth program in Tamale. Immediately after voting, I spent 45 minutes at that program. And I left for the airport, took the 11 o'clock flight. By 12 o'clock, I was here. And from airport, because when I was going, I left my car at the airport. From airport, I moved straight to Parliament. Others will not have the opportunity. They can't go by air, they will go by road. So if a person goes to vote, And then the person is not expected to be here at this time. And that is why I think that, look, I had even problems, Sanda, with what we did yesterday. Parliament, who should be seen strengthening our democratic processes, and the local government structure, the decentralization is one of the most important aspects of our democracy and deepening democratic governance and community and citizens' participation, particularly at the local level. That the day we had these elections, Parliament was sitting. I mean, how? It was mind-boggling to me, and I registered this protest that we didn't need to be seen seated. When more so, the participation of citizens in the local assembly elections is nothing to write home about. Yet on that day, Parliament was having a sitting. For me, it was a mockery of how serious we are with regards to the growth of our democratic development in this country. Frankly speaking, so yes, it's possible that some members of Parliament were still in their constituencies or were on their way coming to Parliament, and such a critical decision was taken in the matter of approving the unreasonable budget of the Ministry of Finance, amounting to over 2 billion Ghana cedis, when the CAPEX, capital expenditure, of even agencies under the ministry is bigger than the budget of certain ministries in this country.
Let's leave it here. Thank you so much for speaking to us. That's Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed, is MP for Tamale Central. He was Deputy Minister for Trade. And now what else do you have for us?
Now, the Member of Parliament for North Tongue, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, says he will pursue a legal action against the government and the Volta River Authority if no action is taken within weeks to construct resettlement facilities for Akosombo Dam spillage victims. Thousands of residents within the Volta region and part of Accra were displaced following the spillage of the dam. In an interview with Citi News, the legislator expressed concern over government silence, emphasizing the plight of thousands of affected individuals left in distress.
The neglect is really, unconscionable, and public officials must know that they owe a duty of care, and they are not doing anybody a favor. It is an obligation. It is a must. So wherever they are, I hope that let's just be kind to them and say that probably they are mobilizing. They're just keeping too long in the mobilization. They should hurry up and come back and get to work and resettle our people. The people deserve their houses back. They deserve to be compensated. And I hope that they don't compel me to initiate class action in court. Because at some point, when we can't continue any longer with the private initiatives, we will have to. And if we see that government is still negligent and derelict, we will have to commence legal action, a class action, to compel government to do the right thing. And I hope that we don't have to get there.
Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa is the Member of Parliament for North Tongue. Now, some youth in Abofu electoral area near Achimota in Accra are demanding the declaration of result for the District Assembly and Unit Committee elections held on Tuesday, December 19. This follows the failure of the EC to declare the result of the elections due to claims of overvoting. The youth say one James Agogo, who was a candidate in the elections, must be declared the winner since he led with over 130 votes after several recounts. The candidate, who is alleged to be the winner, addressed the media to voice out his displeasure.
We counted the ballot again there. When we counted, by the grace of God, I had one extra vote to my own, additional one. It was then 230 votes I had from that particular polling center. When we recount, I had one. It became 231. In the process, they were preparing to declare. All of a sudden, I saw that the district officer had a call. After receiving the call, the district officer then came out to tell us she cannot declare, and that order from above says that she should hold on until further notice. Why? I am sending this issue to our mother, Jane Mensah, and her deputy, Dr. Bosman Asare. Where in this country should this happen? This is assembly election.
You heard an assembly member aspirant for Abofu electoral area in Accra, James Agogo. Now the Minister of Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, Stephen Asamoah Boateng, has called on the National House of Chiefs to urgently intervene in addressing the impasse between the Asantehene Otumfo Osei II and the Domahene Osiadeoyo Osajifo Agyeman I. According to the minister, the open disagreement between the two prominent traditional leaders derails efforts in addressing chieftaincy issues in Accra. In the country, he has thus appealed to the President of the National House of Chiefs to intensify ongoing dialogue to work with the ministry to address the issues that trigger the constant rebuttals between the two.
I must openly admit that the seemingly public impasse between my Nana, especially Nana Domahene and the Asantehene, is not helping our collective efforts in this regard. I hereby appeal to you, Nana President, to intensify your ongoing dialogue, to bring calmness to our front, and to work with me to resolve whatever issue that keeps coming up behind closed doors. That's the way to go to resolve whatever issues pertaining in the chieftaincy institution. We discuss most things behind closed doors. The public gets worried and concerned and very apprehensive when disagreements spill into the public domain. And of course, when we rush to the law courts, it brings uneasiness in our communities. I will continue my regular interactions of calling yourselves Nananum, visiting you as I do, inviting you to my office, and generally assisting you to perform your duties well.
Stephen Asamoah Boateng is the Minister of Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs. Moving on, the Council of Elders of the Convention People's Party has reinstated Nana Akosua-Frimpong Sapon Kumakuma as the chairperson of the party. The National Executive Council of the party passed a vote of no confidence in all its national executives on Tuesday, December 5. This decision was taken during a meeting in Kumasi where the party asked all the national executives to resign or be removed from their respective positions. Akosua-Kumakuma subsequently resigned from the party. But in a statement released by the Council of Elders, they insisted that the decision by NEC is unconstitutional and thus revoked the verdict.
The supposed decision by some members of NEC to set up the interim council after all business of the NEC is unconstitutional and is hereby revoked. The attempt to force the current chairperson and leader of the office is also unconstitutional. The Council of Elders have also become aware of the involvement of its former secretary, Comrade Subri Issa, in a fresh and called-for legal action against the chairperson and leaders of the party, supposed to have been triggered by the party to force her to resign her position unaccountably. Comrade Issa is therefore urged to immediately withdraw this unnecessary letter suit from the court. In view of this situation, the chairperson and leader is hereby urged to convene a central committee meeting to take quick remedial action to stem the further deterioration of the fortunes of the party.
You heard excerpt of a statement released by the Council of Elders of the Convention People's Party. Away from that, the Ghana National Association of Teachers is urging the West African Examination Council to make public the findings of candidates whose results were withheld due to the use of artificial intelligence. The Examination Council has disclosed that it withheld results from candidates in 235 schools who submitted answers generated by AI. But speaking to Citi News, the General Secretary of the association, Thomas Musa, said making the findings public is key as the emergence of AI as a cheating method poses a significant challenge that needs to be addressed.
If you look at how AI functions carefully, it will be difficult, if not impossible, if a well-organized system is not in place to carry this thing out. Because you see, the child is using pen and paper. To get the AI done, it means that there is a phone in the room there. When children are using pen and paper, how did AI enter the room there? We want to know from WAEC. AI doesn't have legs. Human being will have to carry AI to the room. So who carried the AI to the room? Who actually operated the AI in the room there? We want to know. For you to come and say that you can have circumstantial evidence based upon which you can make such conclusions, And if you base your argument on circumstantial evidence and you make such conclusions, you draw all kinds of criticisms onto yourself. Because there are IT aspects around, and everybody now, look, since this thing broke out, people are asking, how did it happen?
That was the General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, Thomas Musa.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
Media Sambisanda Moa. And Yamratiano, Mumu, my planet, to be no Bodom Pemman Yakono. Eh, Quabna. No Mumu wants me to be just my Mariana there. And the crow, complete Mirin and Bodom Pimus, so you supercedent Eba. I didn't buy the Braille. Who see it in a mobile, some man out what in it. Sir, I now could you soon use supercedent Chaco, Nenry dear, a mouse, and we could fit that. No, what you ask you, my mother feel you. Kojo, sir. Yeah. Pepsodent Eba and a Pepsodent Chaco. I've idea. You're gonna natural.
FTIJ Jadian Katuyatu. Let your voice be heard on Eyewitness News on Facebook at facebook.com/City97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/City973, and Instagram at instagram.com/City973 with the hashtag Eyewitness News.
Get the details. Every significant financial transaction, every market movement, and all the policies that affect your business. City Business News. Be informed.
Time now for City Business News on Eyewitness News, brought to you by JCB Bank PLC. JCB Personal Loan. Make that big move a dream and dream a reality. My name is Edna Agnes Boache. Let's settle for the details now. Recent data from the Ghana Statistical Service has revealed that the producer price inflation for the month of November 2023 was 2.0%. This represents a 7.6 percentage point decrease in the rate relative to the figure recorded in October 2023, which was 9.6%. However, the month-on-month change in the PPI between October 2023 and November 2023 was 2.9%. Producer price inflation is the average prices of goods and services received by domestic producers for their production activities. According to the data from the GSS, the producer price inflation in the industry sector decreased to 0.4% from the 9.0% recorded in October 2023. The rate in the construction and services sector also decreased to 41.1% and 10.1% respectively in November 2023. Moving on, the Mobile Money Agents Association of Ghana has stated that it will not withdraw its directive to implement a temporary measure limiting cash withdrawals to a maximum of 1,000 Ghana cedis per transaction. This comes as a meeting scheduled between the leadership of the mobile money agent and the telecommunications companies ended inconclusively. Earlier this month, the Momo agents, in a bid to secure fair compensation for their services, announced that they will implement a temporary measure limiting cash withdrawals to a maximum of 1,000 Ghana cedis per transaction effective December 1. Here is the General Secretary of the Mobile Money Agents Association of Ghana, Evans Otunfo, giving more reasons for their decision.
Leadership has to decide the aftermath of the engagement we had with the EMIs and their chamber. And so we've already had first engagement as to the way forward after the engagement. And it appears that the decision to call off our ongoing directive has not met majority approval, and so the directive is still in full force. And the reasons, as I have indicated, are very numerous. This discussion of our compensations and conditions of service for all this while, it's not a new conversation, and it's been always worked, it's always been acknowledgement of issues and assurance. However, the practical, implementation of our constraints has been an issue for all this while. So at this point, we have thought that it is not enough for us to just depend on the engagement that we have had to call off the directive.
That was the General Secretary of the Mobile Money Agents Association of Ghana, Evans Otunfo. Now, the government statistician, Professor Samuel Kobna, is attributing the contraction of the industry sector in the overall growth of the country's gross domestic product to the decline in the production levels of existing companies. The third quarter of the 2023 recorded a slow growth of 2.0%. This is a decline in the 3.3% and 3.2% growth observed in the first quarters. Government in the 2023 mid-year budget review almost halved its forecast for growth to 1.5, hoping for a rebound in the ensuing year. Here is the government statistician with further insight into these rates.
On the distinction between production and onboarding new companies, we're trying to explain the sources of either a contraction or an expansion. If there is an expansion, it's possible that the existing companies have expanded their production, or it's possible that other companies have been onboarded. What we are seeing in the industry sector in terms of contraction, we are saying is mainly due to a reduction in production levels with the existing companies that are supporting. And also keeping in mind that the mining and quarrying subsector has a component of gold as one of it, and also gold contracted in the third quarter of 2023. But one of the issues that have come to our attention is a comparison between the production of yam inching up and driving crops in the third quarter of 2023, and at the same time seeing high prices with yam from two perspectives, both from the consumer perspective and the producer's perspective. And this is something that we think government should begin to look at the intermediary between what is happening at the production gate, that is a farm gate, and finally what we have both with the wholesale price and also with the consumer prices.
Government statistician Professor Samuel Kobna Enim, meanwhile reacting to the slow growth, economist and dean of the University of Cape Coast School of Business, Professor John Gachi, intimated that this curve could worsen Ghana's outlook as it currently seeks debt restructuring with its external creditors.
The picture is that we're in a slow growth environment. Factors are not allowing the growth of the economy to pick up in a manner that will be very significant to address many challenges we have in the country. Remember that the growth is needed to anchor in debt management. So the slow growth that we have recorded has a lot of damping effect on debt management. Fiscal indicators are also related to debt growth. And therefore, the slow growth that we are churning out will not actually give us the fiscal indicators that will be something to rejoice over. If you are turning the corner, we want to see a robust growth, inclusive growth, growth that is generating jobs, growth that is answering to the need of revenue generation, and creating opportunity for people to take advantage of. That is not what we are experiencing.
Economist and Dean of the Cape Coast School of Business, Professor John Gachi. And that's all for Citi Business News on Eyewitness News. The business news on Eyewitness News is brought to you by GCB Bank PLC, GCB Personal Loan. Make that big move and dream a reality. My name is Edna Agnes Boachi. Up next is Point Blank.
Hello, Linda. You won't believe what I am planning next. I want to start my postgraduate degree, buy a car, and build my dream home. But you know what's stopping me?
What's that, Mike?
Money, oh. That be my biggest wahala.
Oh, you are sorted, cry. With a GCB Big Move personal loan promo, you can borrow up to a whopping 400,000 Ghana cedis at a significantly reduced interest rate in less than 24 hours.
Like, seriously? How do I qualify?
Yes, it's available to all GCB salary account holders. Plus, you get a 2-month grace period before you start to pay back.
Susket, I'm opening an account with GCB now.
Get a personal loan of up to 400,000 Ghana cedis at a significantly reduced interest rate in less than 24 hours. Call 0800-422-422 or visit your nearest GCB branch today to fund your next big move as we celebrate 70 years of greatness. T's and C's apply. GCB Bank, your bank for life.
Let your voice be heard on Eyewitness News on Facebook at facebook.com/City97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/City973, and Instagram at instagram.com/City973 with the hashtag Eyewitness News.
You know, Papa, see that? And it's rickety car. Hey, Papa!
Bobo, so how's your engine now?
It is half man, half amazing. Thanks to Quartz and you can feel better energy.
Can't touch this.
Actually, guys, so Sancho's engine just died like that.
Yes, so
somebody managed to convince him that there is a better engine oil than Quartz, and he switched.
Sancho Panza.
Now, which engine oil can be better than Quartz? No other, my guy. Quartz with its age-resistant technology, it keeps your engine younger for longer. Now you know. Have you guys seen the new bottle design? It's superb. Quartz 9000 from Total Energies there improves fuel efficiency. Why do you think Mr. Mane and Logoso have taken the Quartz Nation movement World Cup like that? Sorry. Chairman. Quartz. Keep your engine younger for longer.
I'm on way. Media Sambisanda Moa. It's your Ratiano. Mumu planet to be Vietnam Podom Pemana Yakono. Eh, Quabna. No Mumu wants me to be just my marrying that day. And the crew. Complete me number Podom Pimus, so you super accident eba. I didn't have Bany de Braille. Who see it in a mobile now? Some man, what in it. Sir, I now could you soon use super accident Chaco. Then when the dear a mouse, we are cringing fit of that. No, what you are sleeping. My mother feel you. Hey, Kojo, sir. Yeah. Pepsodent Eba and a Pepsodent Charcoal. I've had ye. You're gonna natural.
FTIJ Jadian Katuyatu.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
Let your voice be heard on Eyewitness News on Facebook at facebook.com/City97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/City973, and Instagram at instagram.com/City973 with the hashtag Eyewitness News.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
By the OSP. Listen.
Corruption has been a perennial problem for several decades, and everyone in this room is well aware of the danger it poses to our nation. In trying to address the menace, governments over the years have introduced a host of policies and measures, including some unconventional and draconian ones. We have promulgated anti-corruption decrees with provisions for lengthy jail terms. We have confiscated the personal assets of public officials believed to have been corruptly acquired. We have declared zero tolerance against corruption. We have appealed to the good sense of the Ghanaian through moral crusades for integrity and given sermons on the sins of corruption. We've passed anti-corruption laws. We've strengthened anti-corruption institutions and undertaken public sector financial management and institutional reforms. We've also ratified regional and international anti-corruption conventions as expressions of our commitment to the global fight against corruption. And we've even tied people to the stake merely on suspicion of their being corrupt and shot them dead. We have done all these. We have the laws, we have the institutions, and yet the problem persists. But it is worth bearing in mind that it is not only the headline corruption, the type that involves politicians and high-profile figures, that retards our progress and hinders our development. The driver who knowingly puts a faulty vehicle on the road with the intention of paying bribes to the traffic policeman. The policeman who takes a bribe to allow an unlicensed driver on the roads. The planning official who, with the receipt of a bribe, allows a house to be constructed on the waterway. The GRA official that accepts a bribe and allows goods in without the payment of duties. The officials that allow on receipt of bribes, drugs to be imported into and exported out of our country. And all the everyday petty bribe taking that we all put up with. All such actions constitute corruption and retard our progress, even if they do not attract headlines. It is true that corruption is not an exclusively Ghanaian problem, but one which permeates all nations of the world. It results in reputational damage to businesses and establishments and undermines the public trust in governments. The manifestations of corruption are increasingly getting complex, as it often occurs with the aid of professional enablers such as accountants, lawyers, bankers, real estate agents, shell companies, and opaque financial systems that provide opportunities for the laundering and concealment of illicit wealth. If not controlled, corruption can stultify the economic aspirations of any nation. Globally, the World Economic Forum has estimated the cost of corruption around the world at some 2.6 trillion United States dollars a year. In Ghana, it is estimated that we lose an average of some 3 billion United States dollars to corruption every year. When the matter of corruption is raised, some fingers instinctively point at presidents, ministers, and members of the executive branch of government. However, as highlighted by the 2022 United Nations Office on Drugs and Crimes report on corruption in Ghana, in the public consciousness, Ghanaians identify other stakeholders with corruption more than the executive. Out of 23 institutions surveyed, the police, regrettably, ranked first with 53.2% of the respondents, with 5.6% of respondents accusing the executive branch of government. We must thus pay a critical look at this perception and fashion measures to address it going forward. Nevertheless, you'll all agree with me that NACAB has been one of the major strategies and tools guiding the mobilization of efforts and resources of stakeholders, including government, public sector institutions, civil society, private sector, individuals, and the media to prevent and fight corruption. Indeed, NACAB was developed to align with standard global indicators, local knowledge of corruption, and other anti-corruption measures on the premise that conventional anti-corruption approaches have consistently not yielded the anticipated results. It is gratifying to note that since 2015, when the implementation of the plan commenced, Ghana has made significant progress at fighting corruption. Critical amongst them include the passage of key legislation to strengthen the legal framework for fighting corruption, such as the Public Procurement Amendment Act 2016, Act 914, the Public Financial Management Act 2016, Act 921, Office of the Special Prosecutor Act 2018, Act 959, the Witness Protection Act 2018, Act 975, which establishes a witness protection scheme as a vehicle for offering protection to persons who are required to cooperate with law enforcement agencies as witnesses in the investigation and prosecution of corruption cases. The Right to Information Act 2019, Act 989. The Companies Act 2019, Act 992, including its provision on the Register of Beneficial Owners. The Narcotics Commission Act 2020, Act 1019. The Security Intelligence Act 2020, Act 1030. The Corporate Restructuring and Insolvency Act 2020, Act 1015. The Criminal Offences Amendment Act 2020, Act 1034, to categorize the offense of corruption, previously a misdemeanor, as a felony, with stiffer punishments of terms of imprisonment of not less than 12 years and not more than 25 years in prison. The Anti-Money Laundering Act 2020, Act 1044, and the Real Estate Agency Act 2020, Act 1047. Other notable achievements include digitization and digitalization of key sectors of the economy to enhance efficiency and disrupt and reduce opportunities for corruption. Restructuring of the public sector internal audit system through amendment of the Internal Audit Agency Act 2003, Act 658, aimed at putting internal auditors at the center of our fight against corruption using a preventative approach. The establishment of 545 audit committees in public services to strengthen internal controls. In the coming together of relevant institutions to form the Key Accountability Institutions Forum to minimize work overlaps and maximize the use of resources in addressing corruption and crime, and for the exchange of information. It is also an undeniable fact that budgetary allocation for institutions actively engaged in public sector accountability, that is the Office of the Auditor General, the Judiciary, Parliament, the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, the Ghana Police Service, the Economic and Organized Crime Office, EYOCO, and the Financial Intelligence Center have witnessed unprecedented increases since I assumed office in 2017. At the end of 2022, the budgetary allocation to Parliament witnessed a 100% increase compared to what I inherited in 2016. The police saw its budget increase by 274% at the end of 2022 in comparison to 2016. The Audit Service recorded a 258% rise in its budgetary allocation at the end of 2022 as compared to 2016. The budget of the judiciary rose by 36% at the end of 2022 compared to 2016. The budget of the Office of the Attorney General increased by 162% at the end of 2022 compared to 2016. The budget of EYOCO increased by 47% at the end of 2022 in comparison to 2016. The budget of the Financial Intelligence Center increased by 443% compared to 2016, whilst the budget of SRAJ increased by 99% at the end of 2022 compared to 2016. These figures reflect my resolve to ensure that institutions of state of relevance in the anti-corruption agenda are properly equipped to discharge satisfactorily the mandate of their offices. The system of governance our nation has been operating for the last 30 years, which has largely been grounded on the application of democratic values, the operation of a strong private sector-dominated market economy, respect for individual liberties and human rights, the rule of law, the separation of powers, and a free media, has made a significant contribution to the fight against corruption. It has demanded of public officials higher levels of acceptable conduct in office and made it easier for public scrutiny to be directed at the behavior of public officials. The media has been empowered by the system to take a bold stance on the issue of corruption and be fearless in its exposure. The benefits of an open society are evident in the fight against corruption. There is one development, however, which I consider unfortunate, and that is the tendency for allegations of corruption in the public domain to be conclusive in themselves. In other words, the outcome of investigations into the allegations do not dispel them. Once an allegation is made against you, automatically you are guilty. I deprecate such a development because it flies in the face of due process and the rule of law, which require establishment of proof before the allegation is substantiated and granted belief. It is important for the rule of law that the public institutions responsible for the detection, prosecution, and the punishment of corruption, i.e. of crime, be accorded respect until their own conduct is impeached. If that respect is not prima facie accorded, the foundations of orderly government can be easily subverted to the loss and pain of each one of us. That is why so far, every single alleged act of corruption leveled against any of my appointees has been investigated by independent bodies such as SRAG, the Criminal Investigation Department of the Police, and in some cases by Parliament itself. It is not my job to clear or convict any person accused of wrongdoing or of engaging in acts of wrongdoing, despite the effort of some to tag me as a clearing agent. That is the job of the courts and the law enforcement agencies. My job is to act on allegations of corruption by referring the issue or issues to the proper investigative agencies for the relevant inquiry and action, including, if necessary, the suspension of the affected official pending the conclusion of investigations. That is exactly what has been done since I assumed the mantle of leadership on 7th January 2017. From the allegations against the then Minister Designate for Energy, Boachi Ejako, at his parliamentary confirmation hearings in 2017, to that against the former CEO of BOSS, the Honorable Alfred Obeng, to those against the then two Deputy Chiefs of Staff and the Office of the President, the Honorable Francis Asensu Boachi and Honorable Samuel Abu Jinapo, to the conflict of interest allegations against the Minister for Finance, Ken Ofori-Atta, to the claims of extortion against the then Trade and Minister Industry Designate, Alan Shamating, at his parliamentary confirmation hearings in 2017, to allegations of doubling in visa racketeering against the then Deputy Minister for Youth and Sports, Pius Hajije, and the then Director General of the National Sports Authority, Honorable Robert Safo-Mensah, who, even though exonerated by the CID, later resigned, and the chairperson of the board of the National Sports Authority, the Honorable Kwadwo Ba Ajiman, to the allegations of bribery leveled against the Secretary to the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, Charles Bishu, to those involving the dismissed acting CEO of the Public Procurement Authority, PPA, A.B. Ajay, and the dismissed CEO of the National Youth Authority, Emmanuel Asigri. They have all been investigated, in most cases cleared by the authorized institutions of our state and not by President Akufo-Addo. No evidence or allegation has been forthcoming that the executive, i.e. myself as president, has made any attempt to influence the outcome of any of these investigations. The latest episode involving the former Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources, the Honorable Cecilia Abnadapa, is evident for all to see. I am not aware of any government in the Fourth Republic subjecting so many of its officials to such investigations and inquiries. At the same time, several officials of the previous Mahama administration, such as William Matthew Tete Tevi and Haji Salifu Mimaina Osman and Eugene Bafo Boni, in the infamous $4 million United States dollar NCA scandal, have been tried and convicted of various corruption-related offenses, and several others, including Dr. Stephen Upuni, the former CEO of Cocoa Board, and the Honorable Cassiel Atuforsen, the minority leader in Parliament, are standing trial as we speak. Ladies and gentlemen, after almost 10 years of implementing NACAP, there is a need to understand how the action plan has contributed to reducing corruption in Ghana, and to make necessary adjustments to our policies and institutional arrangements based on the evaluation results. The evaluation is important to assess the contribution of NACAP to the fight against corruption in all spheres, and to form the basis of developing our next NACAP, i.e. NACAP 2, 2025 to 2034. The above underscores the importance of the evaluation exercise, and I call on all stakeholders to support its success. Mindful of the enormity of the task in evaluating anti-corruption interventions, strategies, and action plans, an evaluation team of diverse expertise, including those in political science, economics, communication, and gender, has been constituted to evaluate the maiden NACAP. The evaluation team comprises national evaluators led by the Ghana Statistical Service and shall be supported by international evaluators from the UNODC to benchmark the evaluation exercise with international best practices and guarantee credibility. It is expected that a high-quality evaluation of NACAP will be conducted utilizing a wide range of information sources with several appropriate methods and tools. Fighting corruption is a shared responsibility. This is why we must all see the evaluation of the maiden NACAP and the development of NACAP 2 as the responsibility of all stakeholders in this nation, citizens and non-citizens alike.
So that's President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo speaking at the launch of the Ghana National Anti-Corruption Action Plan at the Jubilee House today. That would be it for Eyewitness News tonight. My name is Umaru Sanda Amadou. I did this with Edna Agnes Boachi. Production by Kobna Wilson and Beverly London, with technical support from Daniel Squashi and new media support from Edwin Kwakofi. We'll return tomorrow at 17:30 GMT. Up next is Sister with Chris Carter. Good night.